What do Falcons do? We rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general, the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, the lifelong sports fan, and the Golden Hard Dot, coming back to you today with a couple of things. Guys, we're in the offseason. This has kind of been the dead period for the NFL. Free agency doesn't start until March. The Falcons have kind of got their coaching roster figured out. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to briefly mention my Super Bowl picks because there's only 2 teams left. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the salary cap and how much money I think we're actually going to have. A couple of guys that we're probably going to get rid of. So it's going to be kind of a catch-all video today. And I may do a few more of these catch-all videos as there's not a lot of news. When we start getting closer to free agency, absolutely, I am going to be on top of it. I'm going to be making videos about the Falcons, interviews about any signings that we have. And I'm very excited for it because this could be an incredible offseason again. I think that Terry Fontenot did amazing last year, finally having the salary cap to go out and get players, leaving enough cap to make moves for the future, and really trying to plan out how these contracts are going to stack on top of each other going forward. But let's briefly talk about the Super Bowl. It is coming up on Sunday. It is the Kansas City Chiefs against the 49ers, and look, I want the 49ers to win. I can't pick against the Chiefs, though. Until proven otherwise, Patrick Mahomes is the current GOAT of the league. Not the greatest of all time, I guess, but the current greatest in the league. So I can't really pick against him. I think the Chiefs are going to get another one, but I would love for the 49ers and the Brock Purdy storyline to go forward. If the 49ers lose, I don't know what they do from here. What do you improve on? You've been great the last couple of years. You've got all the skill position talent in the world. You have Christian McCaffrey winning Offensive Player of the Year. Also, major shout out, Tom freaking GROSSI, amazing human being, won NFL Fan of the Year last night. I could not be happier for the man. He is an absolute saint of a person. If you have not already followed him, if you do not follow him, and if you do not know who he is, check him out. He can be found at Tom GROSSI Comedy at a number of social media sites, but his predominant site is YouTube. Incredible human being, raised a bunch of money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital this past year in a 30 and 30 campaign, went to all 30 stadiums in 30 days and raised over $500,000, spent $40,000 of his own money to do this. And again, I just could not be more in awe of him. He's something to aspire to in terms of people who try to make content. I don't ever think I'll get as big as he is, but I just want to say congratulations, Tom. You deserve it. So that's a complete aside that I didn't intend to talk about. But again, I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs, but I want the 49ers to win. So I'm going to be cheering for. So let's talk a little bit about our hires here. We have an offensive coordinator and we have a defensive coordinator. So our offensive coordinator is coming from the Rams staff, and so is our defensive coordinator. The Rams, we are getting their quarterbacks coach, who has been heavily involved this past year in offensive play calling, Zach Robinson. This will be his first real opportunity at an NFL level to be the offensive coordinator, so we'll see how that goes. But I look for us in the draft to be looking for a wide receiver that can fit that solid slot role. So I don't know if, my ideal guy would be Ladd McConkey out of Georgia, but I just think the price tag is going to be too high on him. I think he's going to go tail into the first, beginning of the second. And it really depends on what we do with that first pick and what we do at quarterback as to whether we can get him or not. But if we had Ladd McConkey and Drake London, I think that would be an incredible 1-2 punch. I think Ladd has all of the same aspects that make Cooper Kupp really good, and some of the aspects that make Puka Nacua really good. I think Puka Nacua probably should have been the Offensive Rookie of the Year, but nobody asked me on that one. Maybe next year I'll do a video on who I think should be the winner of all these awards. But then I do like the hire of Zach Robinson. It's definitely the wild card in this, and it should be somebody who knows how Raheem Morris likes to run things. They have a good chemistry off of each other, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they play off of each other. Then we have Jimmy Lake, also coming from the Rams as the assistant head coach this past year. Now, previously, he was at Washington, the University of Washington, as the defensive coordinator there for several years and the head coach in 2020 and 2021. He basically led them to having the best defense in the Pac-12. Again, I'm a little hesitant just because we play SEC football down here. I watch Georgia. I watch Alabama. I watch all these teams that absolutely demolish most of the time these teams on the West Coast that say they play defense. The Big 12 teams that say they play defense. Now that has changed a little bit more in the recent past, but back in that time frame, I would still say that the Big 12, the Big 10, the Pac-12, which is now defunct, all play offense, but they don't know how to play defense. So, again, the fact that he had the best one there is like saying, I had the best polished turd, but still led the Pac-12 in defense while he was their coach, and ended up going to be an assistant head coach with the Rams. Again, the Rams had a pretty solid year on defense, all things considered. You can probably only name at the beginning of the season 2 guys on that entire defensive roster, and only one of them being Aaron Donald. So, again, it's hard to say what they were working with, but they still pushed out a solid overall unit, and I think that he is going to be a good 1-2 punch with Raheem Morris. I look for Raheem Morris to really be involved in calling the defense, and Jimmy Lake to be more of the managerial side of it. But we'll see how Raheem ends up taking on this challenge. But I do like Jimmy Lake, and I do like Zach Robinson. I like that there's cohesion coming over all from the same staff, guys that know each other, that have worked really well together. You're not having to go out and find guys that you might work well with. So I do like the pick for that reason. The other guy that we got to talk about, Marquise Williams. He's been our special teams coordinator since 2021. We had a pretty decent year overall in special teams. I would not say that special teams screwed us anything that's coming to my mind immediately this past season. So I do like that we retained him. He does have a little bit of experience here so far with us for the last 4 years, but I don't believe, I'm looking back at his record, I don't think he has directly worked with Raheem Morris, because Raheem Morris left at the end of the 2020 season, so he was brought on just shortly after that. We'll see how this goes. I'm not going to talk about Raheem Morris because I've already done that in another video. But we talked about Tom Grossi. We talked about the Super Bowl. We talked about the coaching hires. I want to talk just briefly about salary cap. So the Falcons right now, according to Spot Track, which really is a good source to keep up with everybody's contracts, it's a good source to kind of play around and see what we could do to free up some cap space. Right now, with all things considered, rookies, all the things that we need to hold on to money for, we have $25 million in cap space. That's right now. Now, there will be cuts, and it just depends on when we cut some of these guys, but I'm going to go as if we are cutting them today, February 9th, 2024. So, some of the guys that have the top salaries in here, it goes by their salary. You have Jake Matthews, Grady Jarrett, Chris Lindstrom, Jesse Bates, Caleb McGarry, David Onyemata, AJ Terrell, Kyle Pitts. Not cutting any of them. The first guy that pops up as a possible cut, and I think makes the most sense because he was an Arthur Smith guy and now is no longer going to be the Arthur Smith guy, is Jonnu Smith. Now, again, Jonnu Smith could not have asked for more out of him as a 7th rounder, but he definitely took the spotlight away from AJ Terrell. And I think that for $9 million, we can let him go. That's going to end up saving somewhere in the neighborhood of $6.5 million of total cap. We'll have a $2.5 million dead cap hit. But again, saving $6.5 million. So you're having a net positive there. That brings it up to $31.5 million. Taylor Heineke is the next highest paid after that. I don't see him being our backup going forward. Cutting him saves about another $6.5 million. So that's, again, right there, we're at $38.1 million that we can spend. So that's just with 2 cuts. Looking further down, Caden Ellis was pretty solid this year. Drake London, we're not getting rid of him. Younghoe Koo, we ain't getting rid of him. Bijan Robinson, not getting rid of him. Lorenzo Carter, I could take or leave. I'm going to go ahead and say that Carter could be on the chopping block. He really didn't contribute as much as we would have liked him to this year. And cutting him saves close to $4 million. So that puts us at close to $42 million if we get rid of him. Mike Hughes has the next highest contract after. I am not a Mike Hughes fan. I say we get rid of him and save another $3 million. Again, there's dead cap incurred with almost all these moves. But I'm talking about our net total savings. And with just those moves, right now we have 4 moves, and we saved $20 million, giving us $45 million to work with for cap space. And again, we may need to hire a quarterback. We may need to do a large number of things here. It's hard to say exactly what we need, but just moving further down, Richie Grant is a guy. He's still on his rookie deal. I don't think we cut him, but I don't think we start him. I think we need to be in the draft or in free agency looking for that free safety that could really plug in and be better than Richie Grant right now. Richie Grant is a liability as far as I'm concerned. This is going to be probably one of the most controversial ones, but we will save almost the entire salary and lose no dead cap if we cut him. We have 33-year-old Cordell Patterson. He's only worth $2.5 million. We made a similar move with Casey Hayward Jr. last year in cutting him to save some money. And I do think Cordell, I don't think he has a future with the Falcons. I think he's getting along in the two. Fans are going to be upset that I'm saying that we cut him. There's some loyalty there. It's ultimately a cutthroat business, and that $2.5 million could go to pay somebody else or be part of a quarterback salary that we need. I'm just gonna say we do it, and we potentially save some money. Actually, looking at it, hold on, I am incorrect. We actually saved no money with that, so that's my bad. We're not gonna save anything doing that. He's fully guaranteed, so it doesn't make any sense to cut him. I apologize. D'Angelo Malone is a guy that really didn't have a role in the defense this past year. Cutting him could save $1 million. Taquan Graham, he's on the end of a rookie deal. I don't look for us to cut him. Avery Williams was hurt all of last year. He's going to be 30 years old as a running back. Probably somebody we could save $1 million by cutting. Ogundeyi, he is a guy that really didn't have a role in the defense last year. Cutting him saves $1 million. There's a few other guys on this list. I don't even know who Tommy Togiai is. I'm going to say we cut him and save all the money, a full $1.1 million. We have some other guys in here. John Fitzpatrick. Did not really contribute for the Falcons. He's fairly young. The Georgia prospect that's been sitting on the bench or sitting on the injured reserve or not eligible to play. Cutting him saves $1 million. There are a lot of contracts like that we can get rid of. And ultimately, I think we could probably save somewhere in the neighborhood of $55 million with some smaller cuts here and there. Right now, just with the cuts I made, we're at $50 million. So I do think the Falcons can be in a very enviable cap space very rapidly. And let's just really quickly do a lookup. Most cap for NFL in 2024, most salary cap. Having $55 million, if we had that, it would put us at number 7, solidly at number 7 in terms of teams that can play around in free agency. Right now, it's going to be, without a doubt, the Washington Commanders having the most cap space at $83 million. Tennessee Titans are going to have a lot of money. New England Patriots are going to have a lot of money. Houston Texans are in the most enviable spot ever, having made the playoffs, winning a playoff game, and then having $65 million in cap before cutting anybody to play with. The Colts, very similar, close to playoffs, having $66 million in cap. And then you've got the Bengals with 61, and again, I think they could make some moves. They certainly have some guys that they have to consider re-signing, and a lot of these teams will have that as well, but that's just my thoughts on it. But guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I'm not saying what we should do with that cap space, but I'm saying it would certainly make more sense to free up as much as possible with the idea that we may need to sign a Russell Wilson. We may need to trade for Justin Fields and then turn around and sign him to a deal. We need to have as much cap available as possible, and getting rid of some of these guys just makes sense. Some of them it doesn't, and again, some of these guys are probably beloved by fans. They're all people. I don't wish for them to lose their job, but they didn't contribute and haven't really over the last few years, and who knows? This is a completely new coaching staff. We don't know what they're going to be looking to do. We don't know the identity they're trying to create. Would love to bring Calais Campbell back. I don't know if he'll do that or not. But thank you again for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Congratulations, Tom Grossi. You are an amazing individual. You're never going to see this, but you are an absolute amazing individual, and congratulations on winning NFL Fan of the Year. I got nothing else for you guys. As always, rise up.